Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're taking a hard look at a piece of advice that feels like an absolute law of nature. You know the one. You literally must drink 8 glasses of water every single day. We've all heard it, right? In fact, I bet a bunch of us have tried to chug those last few glasses right before bed just to hit that magic quota. Well, today, we're decoding human hydration. We're going straight to the source material to see what the science actually has to say about this. Okay, let's dive into this. Do we really need 8 glasses of water a day? It's this deeply ingrained mantra that doctors, fitness gurus, basically everyone has repeated for decades. But get this, when a specialist actually went looking for the clinical evidence to back it up, they found absolutely nothing, zero. The source points out there has never been even a single clinical trial establishing how much water we actually need to drink to be healthy. No way, right? 0 clinical trials actually back up the 8 glasses a day rule. So if the rigorous science literally isn't there, where on earth did this rule come from? Let's get into Section 1, Origin of the Water Myth, the 1945 footnote. Way back in 1945, the Food and Nutrition Board published some dietary guidelines, and buried inside that document was this one brief statement: a suitable allowance of water for adults is 2.5 liters per day. Now, if you stop reading right there, 2.5 liters is roughly 8 glasses. Boom, case closed, right? Well, hold on. The crucial missing context is the very next sentence, which clearly states most of the quantity is contained in prepared foods. By completely ignoring that second sentence for decades, the public's entire understanding of hydration got completely warped. And this perfectly illustrates exactly what that board meant. Our meals are ridiculously water-rich. I mean, an apple, that's 86% water. A steak, which, seems pretty solid, is actually 60% water. And a cucumber is basically just a crunchy drink at 95% water. Because of all this hidden liquid in our diet, an average person is getting roughly 700 milliliters to an entire liter of fluid just from the food they're eating every single day.
But hey, hydration doesn't even stop with food and drinks. Enter the concept of metabolic water. This is water naturally generated inside a living organism just through its daily metabolism. Your body isn't just a bucket that needs to be filled up from the outside. It's an active factory. The source points out this fascinating fact that our bodies are actually manufacturing their own hydration. They can generate over a liter of fluid every single day purely on their own. How cool is that?
When you combine all that food intake with metabolic water, the whole idea of a universal daily water quota just completely falls apart. Think about the crazy variables in human biology. I mean, how can a person weighing 300 pounds and someone weighing 100 pounds possibly need the exact same 8 glasses? Or think about someone doing 2 hours of intense, heavy exercise every day versus someone with a totally sedentary lifestyle. Even everyday habits, like drinking coffee or tea, which have a diuretic effect, completely alter your needs. A one-size-fits-all rule is just kind of absurd because it completely ignores basic human reality. So if this rule doesn't make any biological sense, why is it everywhere? Why do we feel so pressured to constantly be drinking? Let's look at Section 2, the hydration industry's influence, selling the cure for thirst. $290 billion. Let that sink in. That is the current value of the global bottled water market every single year. Americans alone are guzzling down nearly 16 billion gallons of bottled water annually. We're talking about an absolutely massive global industry that was built entirely around convincing us that we need to be chugging liquids 24/7. And we can trace exactly how this commercial messaging evolved over time. Back in 1965, Gatorade was created, basically launching the whole sports drink industry. Then the source points out a really pivotal moment. In 1992, Gatorade paid the American College of Sports Medicine $250,000. And guess what? The very next year, this partnership pushed a brand new public guideline out to the masses. Drink before you are thirsty. It's a crystal clear timeline showing how the very industry selling us beverages actually funded the guidelines telling us not to trust our own natural thirst. Well, if we aren't supposed to mindlessly drink before we're thirsty, what are we supposed to do? Moving to Section 3, Science of Body Water Turnover, Trusting Your Internal Signals. Our bodies actually possess this highly refined evolutionary adaptation for survival. It's been developed over millennia of surviving famines and droughts. And the star of this built-in system is vasopressin. It's a hormone that literally tells your kidneys to hold on to fluid the second you start losing water. Long before you're ever dangerously dehydrated, this incredible system kicks in and triggers a highly reliable sensation we're all pretty familiar with: thirst. To truly get a handle on how incredibly unique our individual water needs actually are, we've got to look at the hard data. Enter the massive global water turnover study. Researchers tracked 5,640 people across 26 different countries, and the participants' ages ranged wildly, from 8 years old all the way up to 96. To get super accurate results, they used highly specific technology to detect the exact amount of water cycling through these human bodies every single day.
The results of that study, honestly, they're striking. The exact amount of daily fluid loss ranged anywhere from 1 liter to 6 liters per day. Just think about that for a second. That is a massive range. 6 liters is literally 6 times the amount of fluid exiting the body compared to someone at the lower end. This pretty much definitively proves that your hydration needs are intensely individual. It depends entirely on your specific age, body size, the climate you live in, and your daily physical activity. So the crucial point is, forcing a standard amount of water onto every single person can actually have some pretty dark consequences. Here is section 4, the dangers of overhydration, when too much water turns deadly.
It is time we talk about hyponatremia. This is a genuinely dangerous medical condition characterized by low sodium levels in your blood. See, when you force yourself to drink immense amounts of water when you aren't actually thirsty, you drastically dilute your blood. According to the source, this severe state of water intoxication is actually way more dangerous than your standard dehydration. To ground that medical term a bit, let's look at some really sobering real-world statistics. In 2007, a 28-year-old mother named Jennifer Strange tragically died. She drank nearly 2 gallons of water in just 3 hours for a local radio contest. Furthermore, a study from the 2005 Boston Marathon found that a shocking 13% of finishers actually experienced hyponatremia. The modern push to constantly overhydrate is causing severe and sometimes tragic real-world consequences for athletes and everyday folks alike.
So how do we step away from all this marketing and just hydrate safely? Let's cover section 5, practical hydration and quality, reading your body's clues.
The absolute simplest way to gauge your hydration is visual. If your urine is completely clear, it actually means you're drinking too much water and you're actively flushing out vital nutrients and electrolytes. The source notes that while dark urine definitely means you need to drink more, the ideal hydration level is simply signaled by a pale straw color. It's like a perfect built-in visual indicator.
And hey, while we're on the subject of kidneys, what about kidney stones? A lot of people force down massive amounts of water trying to prevent them, but the source brings up this vital magnesium factor. Having sufficient magnesium in your body is described as the true antidote to kidney stones. It's highly effective, way more so than just relying on massive constant water dilution alone.
Finally, the actual quality of the water you choose to drink matters immensely. First off, city water. It often contains chlorine and over 600 chemical byproducts, so getting a good filter is highly recommended. Next is soft water, which is often what's used in homes. Unfortunately, this lacks essential minerals like calcium and magnesium. And lastly, hard or well water. This naturally contains that vital magnesium, which the source notes is actually linked to a lower risk of heart attacks. So yeah, the mineral content in your water choice is absolutely crucial. Which brings us to perhaps the most important, provocative question to ask yourself today. Are you bypassing your body's natural sensation for thirst? We've just seen how a totally misunderstood 1945 footnote basically helped create a billion-dollar industry, an industry that instructed us to ignore our own biology. So the next time you reach for that water bottle purely out of habit or fear rather than actual need, remember the incredible, ancient signaling system your body already has. Trust your thirst. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this deeply changes how you view your daily hydration.